Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. I want to thank you for taking a few moments to invest in yourself. Today we talk about a principle that separates dreamers from doers, wishers from achievers, and starters from finishers. That principle is consistency, and I call it consistency A because it's not just ordinary consistency, but the active, aligned, and aggressive kind of consistency that changes lives. You see, success doesn't come from what you do occasionally. It comes from what you do consistently. The gym membership only works if you go. The book only teaches you if you read. The business only grows if you show up every single day, even when you don't feel like it. Think about this. A single drop of water seems powerless, but drops falling on the same rock over and over again, they carve valleys. That's the power of consistency. Small actions repeated relentlessly with focus and intention. The journey to success is rarely about giant leaps. It's about small, deliberate steps taken every single day. When we talk about consistency, we're not just referring to repetition for the sake of repetition. We're talking about the steady force that builds momentum, the kind that turns a simple action into an unstoppable movement. You see, momentum is one of the most powerful forces in the world. Once it begins, it grows, and as it grows, it becomes harder to stop. But the truth about momentum is that it doesn't start with big wins or massive breakthroughs. It starts with one small choice. Then another, then another. That's where consistency comes in. Imagine pushing a car that's at a complete standstill. At first, it's hard. It takes effort, energy, and force just to make it budge. But once you get it rolling, it gets easier. It starts to move. Then it begins to pick up speed. Eventually, the car rolls almost on its own. That's what happens when you stay consistent. The early days of any goal, starting a business, changing your body, writing a book, feel like pushing that car. The results aren't immediate. It feels heavy. You feel resistance. But every day you show up, you add force, you build strength. And one day, without realizing it, you'll have built momentum. Momentum is the hidden engine behind all success. The athletes who train day after day, the musicians who practice the same notes for years, the entrepreneurs who keep building even when no one notices what keeps them going. It's not just motivation, because motivation fades. It's not just talent, because talent isn't enough. It's consistency. And consistency creates momentum, and momentum brings results. There's a reason why successful people look like they have everything going for them. It's not because they got lucky. It's because they developed a rhythm, a pattern, a momentum that pushes them forward. They don't rely on waking up excited every day. They rely on habits built from consistency. Those habits become automatic. And when action becomes automatic, success becomes inevitable. The beauty of momentum is that it doesn't care how small the step is as long as you keep moving. Reading one page a day, writing one paragraph, making one phone call, showing up for one workout. These might seem insignificant in the moment, but compounded over time, they transform your life. Most people give up not because the dream is impossible, but because they underestimate the power of staying in motion. They quit too soon. They stop pushing when it gets hard. But the truth is, if you just keep going, even slowly, even imperfectly, momentum will eventually carry you forward. And here's the secret. The more momentum you build, the less effort it takes to keep going. It becomes natural. It becomes your new standard. What once felt difficult becomes your baseline. That's the reward of consistency, not just the result, but the transformation of who you are and what feels normal for you. Success stops feeling like a mountain to climb and starts feeling like the path you walk every day. But momentum is fragile. It takes time to build and seconds to lose. One missed day can turn into two. One excuse can become a habit. That's why consistency requires discipline. You must protect your progress, especially in the early stages. When you don't feel like it, do it anyway. When results aren't showing, trust the process. When no one's watching, keep going. Because that's when momentum is being formed, in the unseen moments, in the quiet hours, in the unnoticed efforts. If you've ever seen someone achieve something great and wondered how they got there, the answer is often simple. They just kept going. They didn't stop. They kept pushing when others gave up. They stayed committed when it was easier to walk away, and every day they added a little more force to the wheel until it was rolling on its own. You don't have to be perfect. You don't need to do everything right. You just need to keep showing up. Keep moving forward. Every step counts. Every small action matters. Stay consistent, and soon enough you'll have built a momentum that no one, not even you, can stop. That is the power of consistency. That is the beginning of unstoppable progress. There's something powerful about enthusiasm. That first burst of energy when you start a new goal, a new fitness plan, a business idea, a habit. It's exciting. It lights you up, and for a short time you feel unstoppable. But here's the truth. That kind of intensity doesn't last. It fades. And when it does, what are you left with? You're left with the need for something far more powerful and sustainable than a sudden burst of energy. You're left needing consistency. Consistency beats intensity every single time. Why? Because intensity is about how much you can do in a moment, but consistency is about what you do over time. Intensity is exciting, but it's short-lived. It's a sprint. Consistency, on the other hand, is the marathon. It's slow, steady, and often unglamorous. But it wins. It always wins. Think about it this way. One intense workout won't make you fit. One full day of healthy eating won't transform your body. One all-nighter won't make you a master of your craft. And yet many people rely on these spurts of intense effort to try and leap toward success. They believe that by going hard for a short period, they can shortcut the process. But the truth is, what matters most is not how hard you go, but how often you show up. A student who studies for 15 minutes a day consistently will outperform someone who studies for 6 hours once a week. A writer who writes 500 words a day will finish a book faster than someone who writes 5,000 words once a month. A person who exercises 3 times a week, every week, will be in better shape than someone who works out every day for 2 weeks and then burns out. Why? Because the consistent approach builds habits, creates discipline, and leads to sustainable progress. Intensity can be seductive. It gives you the illusion of making massive progress in a short time, but it often leads to burnout, frustration, or the urge to quit when results don't show fast enough. Consistency, however, doesn't promise overnight success. What it promises is long-term transformation. It promises mastery through repetition. And most importantly, it promises progress that lasts. It's easy to get fired up and set big goals when you're feeling motivated. But when the excitement fades, will you still do the work? That's where consistency steps in. It's not flashy. It's not always exciting, but it's reliable. And reliability is the foundation of achievement. Think of every great athlete, every successful entrepreneur, every master artist. They didn't succeed because they had one moment of greatness. They succeeded because they had thousands of moments of discipline. They showed up on the days when no one was watching, when no applause was given, when progress felt invisible. That's the power of consistency over intensity. There's also a deep psychological benefit to being consistent. It builds self-trust. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, even a small one, you reinforce the belief that you are disciplined, that you can rely on yourself, that you're capable of seeing things through. Intensity may impress others, but consistency builds your internal strength. You don't have to go all out every day. In fact, you shouldn't. Pushing too hard too fast often leads to injury, burnout, or resentment of the process. But doing something manageable, something small but meaningful, every single day is what creates momentum. And as that momentum builds, your efforts start to compound. What felt hard becomes easier. What seemed impossible becomes routine. So the next time you're tempted to throw everything you have into one giant effort, stop and ask yourself this: can I do this every day? Can I sustain this? If the answer is no, then scale it back and start smaller. Build something you can stick with. Because the key to lasting change isn't intensity, it's consistency. In the end, the most successful people aren't the ones who sprint the fastest. They're the ones who keep walking, even when the path is long. They're the ones who plant seeds every day and trust the harvest will come in time. They're the ones who understand that doing a little every day adds up to a lot. Remember, intensity might get you started, but consistency is what gets you there. Consistency isn't just about achieving external results. It's about transforming who you are from the inside out. It's about building character, strengthening discipline, and shaping your very identity. When you commit to doing something over and over again, no matter how small, you begin to rewire your mindset. You stop being someone who just sets goals and starts becoming someone who finishes them. That's the real power of consistency. It doesn't just change your habits, it changes you. Discipline is often seen as something rigid and harsh, but in reality, discipline is freedom. It frees you from the chaos of unpredictability, from the ups and downs of emotion-driven living. It gives you structure, purpose, and control. And guess what fuels discipline? Consistency. Every time you wake up early, even when you don't feel like it, you build discipline. Every time you show up for a workout, for your work, for your dreams, you're exercising that discipline muscle. The more consistent you are, the more natural discipline becomes. In the beginning, you have to push yourself. You have to fight the temptation to skip the hard things, to take the easy route, to delay action. But with consistency, the resistance starts to fade. What once felt like a struggle becomes second nature. Why? Because your identity starts to shift. You no longer see yourself as someone who's trying to be disciplined. You begin to see yourself as someone who is disciplined. That's when real change happens. Let's take an example. Imagine someone who sets out to become a runner. On day one, they might struggle. The mind says, this isn't you. You're not a runner. The legs burn. The breath is heavy. The motivation is thin. But they go again on day two, and again on day three. After a week, they start to believe, maybe I can do this. After a month, they begin to think, I am doing this. And after a few months, something magical happens. They no longer have to convince themselves. It's become part of their identity. They are a runner, not because they ran a marathon, but because they showed up consistently. This is true in any area of life. If you want to be a writer, write every day, even just a few words. If you want to be a better parent, spend intentional time with your children every day. If you want to be financially disciplined, track your spending every day. Each small action reinforces the identity you're trying to build. Most people try to change their lives by focusing on results. They say, I want to lose 20 pounds, or I want to earn $1 million. Or I want to be confident. But lasting transformation doesn't come from chasing results. It comes from changing who you are at the core. And you change who you are by changing what you do consistently. Identity is not something you find, it's something you create. And you create it through repetition, through habits, through showing up when it's hard. Consistency also teaches you self-respect. Every time you follow through on a commitment, you're telling yourself, I can be trusted. That's huge, because most people don't fail because of lack of ability. They fail because they don't believe in themselves. And they don't believe in themselves because they've broken too many promises to themselves. They've quit too many times. But when you stay consistent, even in small ways, you start to rebuild that trust. You begin to feel powerful, capable, and grounded. That inner confidence radiates into every part of your life. You might not see the transformation right away. You might feel like your effort isn't making a difference. But rest assured it is. Every action is a vote for the person you're becoming. Every repetition is casting a ballot for the future version of you. And the more votes you cast, the more real that version becomes. Eventually, you no longer have to force yourself to act. You don't have to rely on motivation or external pressure. You act because it's who you are. That's when you know consistency has done its job. It has built the foundation. It has shaped your identity. It has transformed your life from the inside out. So if you want to become the best version of yourself, don't wait for the perfect plan. Don't look for shortcuts. Just start small, stay consistent, and let that consistency build the discipline and identity that will carry you forward, no matter what challenges come your way. Every single person chasing a goal, pursuing a dream, or trying to change their life runs into one common enemy: resistance. Resistance shows up in many forms: self-doubt, procrastination, fear, fatigue, distractions, and even the voice inside your head that whispers, not today. It's the silent force that pushes back every time you try to step forward. And yet the most reliable way to defeat resistance isn't through occasional bursts of motivation. It's through the steady, repeated rhythm of consistency. Resistance loves hesitation. It feeds on uncertainty. The longer you wait to take action, the stronger it grows. But something powerful happens when you show up anyway. When you act in spite of how you feel, and you stay the course even when it's inconvenient or uncomfortable, you weaken resistance. And if you keep showing up, you start to overpower it completely. People often think success comes from willpower or bursts of energy, but in reality, those things fade quickly. You might be excited about your new plan for a few days, but what happens when the mood wears off? That's where resistance takes its shot. It waits for that first missed day, that first excuse, that first sign of weakness. But if you've built the habit of consistency, you won't even flinch. You'll get up, do the work, and move forward, because that's what consistent people do. You don't need to be perfect. You don't have to be superhuman. You just have to outlast the resistance. That means showing up on the hard days, when everything inside you wants to quit. It means working on your goals when it's raining outside, when your schedule is full, when your energy is low. Think about it like this. The first time you try something new, whether it's waking up earlier, building a business, or changing your habits, resistance hits hard. It tells you it's too difficult, too late, or too unlikely to work. But you push back, you do it anyway. That's the gift of consistency. It trains you to act without needing to feel ready. It allows you to push through mental blocks, emotional slumps, and physical discomfort. You become stronger than your excuses. You become immune to temporary emotions. You might not always win the big battles in one day, but with consistency, you win the war. You take back control from the voice that says quit. You silence the fear that says you can't. And you prove to yourself over and over that you are capable of doing hard things. So the next time resistance shows up in the form of doubt, delay, fear, or fatigue, just smile. Because you already have the weapon to defeat it. You have your consistency. And with that, you are unstoppable. Keep showing up. Keep pushing forward. Resistance can't survive in the presence of relentless daily effort. And that's exactly what you're capable of delivering, one day at a time. Success often looks like a sudden event, a breakthrough, a moment of glory, a big win. But what most people don't see is the years of effort, discipline, and quiet consistency that came before that moment. The truth is, nothing meaningful happens overnight. Greatness is not built in a single day, it's built every day. And the force that makes that possible is the compounding effect of consistency. Compounding is a powerful concept. We often hear it in the context of money, how saving or investing a small amount regularly can grow into a fortune over time. But the same principle applies to habits, skills, relationships, knowledge in every area of life. What you do consistently doesn't just add up, it multiplies. A little progress each day adds up to big results in the long run, far beyond what you might expect. Let's take a simple example. Imagine you commit to reading 10 pages a day. That might not seem like much. It takes just 15-20 minutes. But over the course of a year, you will have read more than 3,500 pages, the equivalent of 15 to 20 full-length books. And if you choose books that improve your thinking, your mindset, or your skills, that's not just pages, that's transformation. That's knowledge compounding over time, changing the way you think, act, and lead your life. The same goes for any positive habit. Exercise, for instance. You don't have to train for hours a day. Even 20 to 30 minutes of consistent movement, walking, stretching, lifting, running, adds up to incredible health benefits over months and years. The body you build is not shaped by what you do once or twice a week with intensity, but by what you do consistently, even if the effort feels small in the moment. In business, the entrepreneur who makes one meaningful connection every day, who improves their product just a little every week, who shows up consistently for their audience is planting seeds. Those seeds compound into trust, reputation, momentum, and eventually success. The compounding effect in business comes not just from strategy, but from showing up and getting better by 1% every single day. What makes the compounding effect so powerful is that the benefits often come later, sometimes much later than you want them to. That's why many people give up too soon. They start a new habit or routine with high hopes. They expect big results quickly, and when they don't see immediate changes, they get discouraged and quit. But the truth is, consistency works silently at first. The changes are subtle, invisible even. But underneath the surface, transformation is taking place. It's like planting a seed in the ground. You water it, take care of it, and at first you see nothing. But if you keep watering it, the roots grow deep, and eventually the seed breaks through the surface. That breakthrough doesn't happen by accident. It happens because of days and weeks of unseen effort. That's how consistency works. You won't always feel it, but you must trust it. You must believe that every small step is part of something bigger. And here's the thing, just as positive habits compound, so do negative ones. Skipping one day may not seem like a big deal, but if it becomes a pattern, the damage compounds. Procrastination, poor choices, lack of discipline, they don't ruin your life all at once. They do it slowly, quietly over time. That's why staying consistent is not just a way to grow, it's a way to protect what you've built. Consistency is your daily investment into the life you want. It's the deposits you make into your future, one action at a time. And the longer you stay in the game, the more powerful the results become. One day, people will look at your success and call it talent or luck or genius, but you'll know better. You'll know that it came from the compound interest of every early morning, every late night, every decision to stay the course when others gave up. So if you're in the middle of the journey, keep going. If you feel like nothing's happening, trust the process. Because the breakthrough isn't a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And when it comes, it won't just be the result of one big move. It will be the reward of every small step you took, compounded over time into something extraordinary. Consistency is not always easy. It asks for daily effort, unwavering commitment, and steady action, even when motivation fades. That kind of dedication can only be sustained when you have two powerful forces working together behind the scenes: purpose and patience. Without them, consistency becomes a struggle. With them, it becomes your strongest ally on the journey to any meaningful goal. Purpose gives your actions meaning. It gives your effort a direction. When you know why you're doing something, it becomes easier to keep doing it, especially when the work is hard or the progress is slow. A strong purpose fuels persistence. It answers the question that your mind will ask again and again: why am I doing this? Purpose reminds you of what's at stake, what you're building, and who you are becoming. Without it, even the best plans can fall apart. With it, even the hardest journeys become worth it. Take any great achievement in business, sports, art, or personal growth, and behind it, you'll always find a deep sense of purpose. The athlete who wakes up early to train does it not just for the medal, but for the pride of becoming their best self. The entrepreneur who keeps going after multiple failures doesn't just want money. They have a mission to create, to serve, to solve problems. That clarity of purpose keeps them consistent when challenges come, because they are connected to something greater than the moment. But purpose alone isn't enough. You also need patience, the ability to delay gratification, to endure the waiting, to trust the process when you can't yet see the results. And that's where many people lose their way. We live in a world that rewards speed, quick fixes, overnight success, instant results. These are the illusions we're sold every day. But real growth, the kind that lasts, takes time, and patience is the bridge that carries your consistency across that gap between where you are and where you want to be. When you combine purpose and patience, consistency becomes sustainable. Purpose keeps your fire burning. Patience keeps you steady when the fire dims. Purpose pulls you forward with passion. Patience keeps you grounded with wisdom. Together they create a foundation that allows consistency to thrive, even in the most difficult seasons of life. Every meaningful journey is filled with ups and downs, moments of doubt, and long stretches of slow progress. There will be days when it feels like nothing is changing, days when you wonder if your effort even matters. And those are the exact moments where most people quit, not because they weren't capable, but because they lacked patience. They wanted to harvest too soon. But success is never rushed. Just like nature has its seasons, so do your goals. There's a time for planting, a time for nurturing, and eventually a time for harvesting, but only if you don't give up too early. It's also important to remember that patience isn't passive. It's not about sitting back and waiting. Patience is active. It's about showing up every day and doing the work, even when the reward is not immediate. It's about having faith that every drop of sweat, every small effort, every single step forward is building towards something meaningful, even when you can't see it yet. And this is where consistency truly becomes powerful. Because when your actions are fueled by purpose and carried by patience, they begin to shape you. Day by day, you're not just moving closer to your goals, you're becoming someone new, more focused, more resilient, more confident. That transformation is the real reward of consistency. Not just what you achieve, but who you become in the process. So when you feel tired, when the journey gets long, when the results are slow to appear, go back to your purpose. Remind yourself why you started. Anchor yourself in that deeper reason, and then be patient. Trust that time and effort are never wasted when they're aligned with purpose. Stay consistent, stay clear, stay calm. Let your purpose guide you and let your patience protect you. The results will come, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually always. Because with purpose and patience, consistency becomes unstoppable. And with that consistency, anything becomes possible.